Hello guys, welcome to this video. So in this video I will show you how to deploy a Docker image to AWS. We're going to start this video session by building a local Docker image and we're going to upload the Docker image to ECR repo. Then we need to create an ECS cluster and configure a task to run our Docker image. Finally, we are going to launch the task into our cluster and we are going to expose our app to the internet via VPC. So let's go to our Docker file. This is our Docker file. In this Docker file, the first line says to pull the image with the Node.js of version 10, and that Node.js will run in the Linux-based OS. Then we are specifying the working directory, and we are going to copy our package.json files to our current working directory. And then we are installing our node modules using npm install command. Then we are copying the rest of files like our app.js routes and deployment folders. Then we are exposing our app to the outside world with port number 2173. At last we are running the command npm start. So now let's go to our ECR repository and create an ECR repo. So here we have two things, public and private. So I'm going to select private repository. Now let's name our repository as my repo and click on create repository. So here we have our repository successfully created. So now let's open this. So initially we don't have any images. Now let's see the view push commands. So the first command is to retrieve a authentication token and it will authenticate your Docker to your registry. So by running this command, if you receive any error, make sure that you have installed AWS CLI and you configure your AWS credentials. So in my system, I already installed my AWS CLI and I configured my AWS credentials. So the next command is the build command, and next we need to tag our image with our ECR name. At last, we need to push our image to our ECR repo. So now let's copy this first command and paste it here. So the login is succeeded. Now run the build command. So my Docker file is under deployment slash Dockerfile. So I need to specify the path deployment slash Dockerfile. So here the commands are running. So let's wait for a while. So our image has been built successfully. Now let's see our image. So this is our Docker image which we have created now. Now let's run the second command and let's run the last command. So we are seeing that our image is pushing to our ECR repo. So now we have pushed our Docker image to our ECR repository. Now let's see our Docker image in ECR repo. So here we have our image which we have pushed recently. So now let's go to our ECS cluster and create one task definition. So click on task definitions. So now we can select Fargate and click on next. So now we can specify our task definition name. Let's select the task role and let's select the task memory as 0.5 GB, 0.25 vCPU. And here we need to add our ECS container. So let's go to our ECR. Let's copy this. Let's copy this image URI and paste it here. Then we need to specify the container name. Let's copy this container name and paste it here. So next we need to specify the container port. So in our application we have specified our container port as 2173. So let's give the same here also, 2173. Yes. So now click on add and click on create. So now we have created a new task definition. So this is our task definition with the tag of 1. So if you are updating your task, then your tag will be in 2. So now let's go down cluster. So here I have already created one cluster. Let's use this theme. So let's create a service. Before creating a service, let's create a load balancer. So in this load balancer, let's click on create load balancer. So here we have set of load balancers. For our case, we can use the application load balancer. So click on create. So we can name our load balancer as my ALB, and our load balancer runs on the port number 80. And here we need to select the VPC. So in this VPC, you are going to select all the subnets, and you can click on next. So let's create a new security group for our ALB. You can select HTTP with port number 80, and we can give the source as anywhere. So next, then click on next. Then we can specify our target group name as my ALBTG. So let's select the target type as IP and click on next. Click on next and click on create. So we have created a load balancer to our application. Let's use this load balancer to our ECS. So now click on create. Now select the launch type as Fargate and click give our service name as my service, and let's give the number of tasks as 1. So the minimum healthy percentage for number of task 1 should be 0 and maximum percentage should be 100. So when your number of task is 2, then your minimum healthy percentage will be 100 and your maximum percentage will be 200. So now click on next. Here we need to select the cluster VPC. This is a very important step, guys. Since in load balancer we have selected a default VPC. So the VPC name is VPC 200, sorry 022. So same cluster VPC should be selected here also. So here we can select the same subnets. So here we are going to select 3 subnets, and we can allocate a security group for our application. So now let's name this security group as my service SG, and we can select a custom TCP with port number 2173. So this is a port number which we are going to use in our container, and here we need to select the source. So in this source we are not going to select anywhere because we are going to secure our application. So the request from the ALB only should be accepted by the ECS service. So let's select our source group. So under this source group we have 2 security groups, and we need to know which one is the ALB security group. So now go to our ALB. So so here we have our security group for ALB. It's mentioned as SG-0E. So let's go to our ECS. So here we have our ALB security group. Let's select this one. So click on save, and next we need to allocate our application load balancer. So here we have our application load balancer and click add to load balancer. So here we need to select the production listener port. Let's select production listener port as 80 HTTP. So this is the port which we are going to use, which I have used in our ALB. So now let's select same here also. So here we need to specify our target group name. So let's create a new target group for our service as my service TG, and we need to specify the path pattern. So this path pattern will be available in our application. So now let's go to our application. So in routes we have two get methods, and the path pattern of our application is my service hyphen one. So this is my path pattern. Now let's copy this path pattern and paste it here. So next we need to give the evaluation order. So since we are creating a new service, There is no existing service in our ECS cluster. So the evaluation order will be 1. So upcoming evaluation order will be incrementing with 2, 3, 4. So we need to provide the health check path also. The health check path should be exactly matched to our current route paths. So now let's copy this path and paste it here. Yeah. So now click on next, click on next, click on create service. So we have successfully created our service with my service name. Let's view the service. So here we have our service and our task is running. That is, this is a task definition which we have mentioned in our task definition section. So now it's in a provisioning state. So let's wait for a while. So the desired statics is the running state. So next state will be our pending state. Yeah, we have seen the pending state, and next will be our running state. So we have got our running state ECS service. So this is a public IP, and this public IP won't work in our browser because we have given the security group that they should accept only our load balancer request. So now let's check whether it is accepting or not. So now let's give the IP with port number 2173, my service icon 1. You can see that the loader is still loading. It won't give any response. It throws an error like the site can't be reached. So now let's go to our load balancer and check our load balancer URL. So this is our load balancer URL. Now let's copy the spaces URL. See, you can see that the site can't be reached. So now let's paste this load balancer URL. So we have seen the response. So this is the response which in our application. So this is how we need to host our application in AWS. And now I'll explain what is the logic behind, and that's how the communication occurs between our ECS and ELB. So this is our client, and this is our ALB, and this is our ECS. So both our ALB and ECS are in same VPC. So this is what I said. It is a very important step that we need to select the VPC for ALB, and the same VPC also should be selected in ECS also. So the initial client request is forward to our ALB port, ALB with port number 80. Then the ALB forwards that request to ECS. Then ECS verifies that incoming request has the same security group what the ALB has. So all this happens under the same VPC. So that's it, guys. We have hosted our application in AWS using Docker image, and I hope you have learned a lot in this video. So in upcoming videos, we can see multiple things like how to host multiple services and how to deploy a CI/CD service and so on. So thank you, guys. See you in next video.